Hi, on episode 34 of K12 Tech Talk, we talk about DRC's trash technical support. Josh bores us about pen testing. Donatello tells us about his malware attack, and then we kick him out because he likes pineapple on his pizza. Have a listen.
All things technical in K12. This is K12 Tech Talk Podcast with Josh, Chris, and Corey.
Live from the somethingcool.com studios, this is K12 Tech Talk with Chris, Josh, and Corey. What's up, fellas? And we have also a special guest. We'll introduce him in a minute. But let's start with Chris and Corey real quick. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
It's been a wild week, has it not?
I seriously, I knew it was Thursday, but it didn't click till like 2:00 that it really is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. For some reason, it felt like Wednesday or something all day.
Thank God.
And I realized, I was like, oh my God, it's Friday tomorrow.
Thank God it's Friday tomorrow. Chris, you want to talk about somethingcool.com real quick? You said you had that Ruckus report.
Yes, so I've talked about it a couple of times. Jeremy at Something Cool talked me into filling out a one-page sheet with Ruckus. It was like this Ruckus funding support program. I don't use any Ruckus products in my district for transparency's sake. But I have checked them out from time to time. We did that review of a Ruckus wireless access point a couple episodes back too. So anyways, I filled out that one-page sheet. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Took several days, but finally heard back from Jeremy. And he sent me it was like a 72-page report from Ruckus. And it's with this grants office as well. But they put together basically this super long list of grants and funding that is available to my district in particular. And then there was a follow-up phone call with them with Jeremy on the line, somebody from Ruckus, and somebody from that grants office. And it was a 30-minute phone call, but they went over that document and asked me if I had any questions. Supposedly, if I'm interested in any of those things, but I don't know how to write them, they have someone that can help me write them, that kind of stuff. It was easy to do, easy to, go through that phone call as well. And there was no, I kept expecting Ruckus to try to sell me Ruckus.
Yeah,
but
right. Exactly.
That's not really what this is. It's wanting, obviously, they want to get you on the line, build a relationship, show you how to get some money, and then hopefully Ruckus would come up. I understand the game that we're playing. But it was good information. That grants person was very knowledgeable. We've talked about this some. They told me in Missouri, this CARES money stuff, at least in Missouri, all that money that we just got, this next round is 4 times as much.
Yeah.
And then round 3 is at least 2 times as much.
Yeah.
Which is just insane to even fathom. And then for my superintendent to tell me I don't get any of that money.
Oh, that's kind of wow. I think there's some hurt feelings there.
Anyways, Jeremy, let me finish this, then you can talk.
Oh, Josh. My goodness. Wow.
Jeremy Porter, sales at somethingcool.com, one-page sheet. Again, this Ruckus deal, you should check it out, especially if you're not like the grant person. All of it is tech minded grants that you can pursue.
Was there anything grant-wise that you didn't already know about that you're eligible for?
I had heard the name before. There's a Perkins grant in Missouri with your CTE classes and stuff. That's not one that I had paid attention to. For a couple of years, that's on there. And even, I don't know if Jeremy fed them this or if they just knew this, but the lady was like, the Perkins one in particular, this is one that's good for labs that qualify for this. And then you can also use those computers if you're trying to spin up esports.
Oh, interesting. Funny.
She knew those sentences like that. You know what I mean?
What? We got 3 hosts of the show. Why would only one of the hosts get asked to fill this out?
I've been asked by another vendor to do this same thing.
Not a vendor that sponsors this show.
No, you're right. No, absolutely not. No, you're right.
Maybe it's because on the Ruckus episode, you didn't even show.
I was in Florida.
Oh, that's right. He was on vacation. Hey, was my check bigger because of that, or did Corey get some of that money that he did nothing for?
I think he got some.
We're gonna have to adjust that in the contract.
We struck that deal before
so-
we started making money.
Corey, I think it's worth sharing. You and I are enjoying some beverages this evening. We went against Chris's rule of no alcohol during the podcast a couple episodes ago, and we're breaking that. We're breaking that rule again tonight. I have a finger or so of Maker's 101 that is extremely tasty. Corey, what do you got?
I have more than one finger of Buffalo Trace.
How many have you consumed already?
Multiple.
I was going to say, by looking at you,
He's wobbling.
he does. He's having a hard time staying upright.
I'm going to keep on with my water.
So this week was kind of exciting, DRC wise, state testing wise. Corey, do you want to talk about your hellacious experience that you had this week and your awesome support that you got from DRC?
Before Corey gets all nuts, can we introduce the guest?
Sure. Let's go ahead and let him
Okay.
talk. Yeah,
And
because
I'm gonna
he's giving
sing
us
the-
hand signals and stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So we do have a special guest on the show tonight. His name is Donatello.
Turtles in a half shell.
We will interview him in a minute about his ransomware experience. Donatello, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Sorry you have to experience this right now. So
It's
Corey,
quite entertaining.
Corey, you want to talk about DRC and your awesome support you got from DRC this week?
Yeah, so DRC is the provider in Missouri for map testing, the software. And we're actually as of today, we're done. So we've been testing for several weeks. Not one issue, just going great. All of a sudden yesterday, testing coordinator, she actually texted me because it was that big of a deal. She said kids started getting kicked out of tests left and right. So I first I make sure our COS server, which is the caching server, was up, and it was fine. And I did my tech due diligence. I looked to make sure the server wasn't choking, blah, 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 before I called support. Well, anyways, in Missouri, there's a statewide technology department email list, and several districts had already emailed that list saying anybody experiencing kids getting kicked out of tests, blah, blah, blah. So I pretty quickly, I figured out, all right, this is a DRC issue, but I'm going to call support anyways, mainly so I can tell my testing coordinator, hey, I called support and they're saying this.
Right.
I mean, and I got the runaround. They asked me to do a speed test. They asked me how many clients I had on an AP. They asked me if I could jack the Chromebooks into the network. They asked me to get on the server and tell them what the CPU, RAM, and network card we're running at. And finally, I forget which one they asked me. I said, listen, man, I'm done going down these rabbit holes. And that's what I told him. And he said, oh, okay. And this was tier 2. He said, actually, and he asked me, like, can you give me some state IDs of the kids that are testing? I said, no, I cannot. And so we had actually stopped testing for the day. And I told the guy, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be able to give you much more info. They're telling me they've stopped for the day. And he said, okay. He said, well, just try again tomorrow. And then if the Chromebooks don't work, take them into a lab that's plugged in and see if it'll work from there.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
Gosh.
Genius.
So I actually got no support at all. And then it was fine today. A neighboring school district having the exact same issue, they was fine today as well. So of course it was a DRC issue. But I even told the guy on the phone, I'm like, listen, honestly, I was calling in for the purpose for you to tell me that there's a DRC outage.
Right. Because we knew as a group that there were multiple schools, 6 or 7 that we knew of that use that list that were having all issues as well. So that's unfortunate. And today, how'd it go today?
Great. We finished. We are actually done district wide except for virtual kids and makeups.
Nice.
We won't finish until late next week. So I got some information this week that we're looking at doing pen testing and vulnerability scans on our external assets. And I found out that since we are a member of MS ISAC, and all K-12 public schools are eligible to join MS ISAC for free, we get vulnerability scans, phishing, and pen testing from CISA and MSISAC for free.
Is that something you signed yourself up for?
Yeah. MSISAC, I believe it's msisac.gov. Donatello, if you know of any of this information, feel free to chime in because these guys aren't going to help me. I'm going to try and search it. MSISAC. So it's CISecurity.org/MS-ISAC. And you can sign up. It's a multi-state cybersecurity sharing information service. You'll get daily emails, any threat alerts that come out, any new 0 days that come out, you'll get an email alert.
Nerdy stuff.
Oh,
Super nerdy stuff. So yeah, Corey, these guys are not interested. But the high and low of it is they do have very valuable.
Our networks are secure.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. So I had a conversation with one of the guys about doing a pen test, and he's like, "Yeah, we typically schedule those for off hours or weekends because when we get in," and I'm like, "Well, we've got a firewall. You wouldn't really be able to get beyond the firewall, right?" And he goes, "No, we won't stop until we get in." And he said the reason why we do it after hours is because the longer we go, the greater chance we have of knocking something over on our way in. He said, so something may go down. So it was pretty interesting conversation. So this is all funded by Department of Homeland Security. They're legit certified ethical hackers that are doing this. So it's pretty interesting. MS-ISAC.
Corey, I think we should check this website out before we endorse it.
CISecurity.org. I appreciate your support, gentlemen.
Josh probably got fished.
Chris, do you want to talk about Aruba real quick before we get into our interview with Donatello?
So this week, neighboring school districts in our area got together. We do a quarterly, we call it a quarterly tech talk, where we hang out. There's probably 20 of us typically in the room, and we have an agenda wherever we want. We do a shared Google Doc, and then we go through the agenda to share information with one another. And we invited Aruba to hang out with us for that meeting. So we got to hang out with Chris and Aruba, proud sponsors of this podcast.
I thought his name was Jerry.
You guys.
I called him Roger the other day.
Anyways, they gave us a recap. It was Chris. PDS was there as well. Provision Data Solutions was there as well. And then one of the engineers with Aruba. But to talk about kind of the recap from Atmosphere and all the Aruba Central stuff that's coming out. And it being cloud versus there's the on-premise stuff. Just all that kind of stuff. Very good. Again, like it's cool in Missouri or in our area. I don't know. I can't speak to all of them, I guess, but he was very transparent about how pricing structure is changing and what we should look at, what things are going away and they're not going to be supported down the road, but what stuff is coming.
And he kind of not danced around the issue, but availability is an issue. We'll just put it that way, right, Chris?
Right. And Corey can speak to, Corey, you've ordered some stuff, right?
Yeah. And I think we could talk about it. I mean, there's just like chip shortages are everywhere. This isn't just Aruba specific, but because even Chris was saying like, hey, he was very open in the meeting, like, hey, get your orders in as quick as you can, like just get into the queue. He didn't even he said didn't even want to mention dates because nobody really knows, not just Aruba. Like anybody that said like, oh, you'll get your APs in July, he said that's just a guess. So he said the 500 series APs are for sure the tightest thing to order.
Of course.
Switches are they feel better about switches. And then they feel better about these super, super powerful APs. But he said even those and like outdoor APs, they're starting to hit the back ordered status.
Well, that's unfortunate. We have the three of us, we know a guy in Missouri here that they're getting ready to open a new school and they don't have access points yet. So it's going to be interesting to see when those access points show up and if they can serve that school.
All right, let's get to the meat.
Oh my gosh, you're pushy tonight.
Hey, so Aruba, check out Aruba Central if you haven't yet. You can do it in the cloud or on-prem. On-prem is more expensive, but they're working out some details of that. What else? That CX switching, I mean, that seems expensive too, but check that out if you're needing some new switches.
All right, so I guess we can go ahead and get into the interview with Donatello.
Donnie!
This maybe it wasn't a good idea to let him drink.
First question: favorite pizza?
Sausage and pineapple.
Pineapple.
Oh my God.
Hey.
What in the heck?
You asked.
Thanks for coming on, Donatello. So I guess we can call this, you're our latest installment of our ransomware series. Your event. So, okay, let's back up. Give us a little bit of an idea as to the size of your district, the kind of staff you have, that kind of stuff.
Suburban district of about 4,500 kids if we include our career center. Staff of I think we were at 7 at the time. Now we're up to 8 and adding a couple of more. Supporting 1-to-1 grade 6 through 12, and then carts of Chromebooks at the elementary and Windows devices for staff.
Wow. So you have 8 now and you're adding a couple more?
Yes. Yeah. We were lucky enough to get approved.
Wow. I'm
you ask often enough, you get it.
No kidding. Wow. Okay. So 1-to-1 Chromebooks, what about teacher devices and stuff like that?
Windows desktops primarily. We have a few with laptops, and we're actually changing that model going into next year to let the teachers be more mobile.
Interesting.
Off subject, but kind of a lesson learned from COVID. Chromebooks aren't necessarily what the teachers need or want at home to execute a lesson. Yep.
No, I would agree with that statement. You add a little bit of cost and some headache there, but I agree with that.
Right.
So take us back. Your event happened a couple of years ago, didn't it?
Late August of 19. So yes.
Okay.
We were in our 4th day of school. I was trying to get some point of sale devices up and running in the lunchroom, and one of my techs called and said something's going on. And after he described, for 30 seconds or so, I said, all right, pull the plug, shut it down. Whatever damage we can prevent, just stop it.
What were the symptoms? What was he describing?
Encrypted files. Things
okay.
showing up on desktops, messages. Hey, this is encrypted. Yeah, all that fun, normal stuff that shows up.
From all across your district, different buildings, or was it isolated to an area?
It was unfortunately isolated to one of our file servers. Initially, anyway. Yeah, but we can talk about how they got in and things like how we think they got in. Yeah. And it kind of makes sense after a while. You realize where our mess ups were. Okay, so you unplug the internet, or you unplug your core uplinks. What are you unplugging first? Servers, infected servers that we find. We start shutting them down, thinking that, hey, we've kind of isolated this. Maybe there won't be much damage. The server that we initially caught wasn't incredibly important. So we were hoping that, hey, we've nailed this down. And so we shut that down and slowly started checking things, fired something back up, and it started shooting out all over the network. And we just pulled the plug on the entire district at that point. So we're shutting down. As far as technology, we still kept operating, but any kind of Windows devices, we took offline. So 4th day of school. So teachers probably don't know the kids' faces yet as far as rosters for classes, schedules. Holy cow. Yeah, we had a couple of things that really saved us. First of all, our student information system is hosted up in the cloud. Okay. So that went untouched. Very thankful for that. Sometimes it's a frustration, but in this case, very glad we had it. And the other thing that saved us after the first day is that all teachers have their own Chromebooks. When we first went 1-to-1, our decision was teachers need to know what the kids have. Yep. They need to understand so they can teach with it. And we were still in that model. So the teachers had those Chromebooks, which we could operate with, so they could access student information systems and a few critical things, and keep running as best as we can without the Windows stuff.
Sure. So I assume you were able to keep your wireless network up during this?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So how bad did this get and how quick?
Honestly, if we hadn't been cocky and thought that we had it isolated and fired stuff back up, it wouldn't have been bad.
Oh,
but
man.
We thought we had it.
Pride,
hey, people are clamoring to get to their home drives, et cetera, fired up, and it started hitting workstations at that point. And so we first caught it about 7:30 in the morning. By about 11 o'clock, we'd shut the entire district down and basically said, do not turn your computer on until it's clear.
Oh my God.
So I was going to say, when you say you shut the entire district down, like were you unplugging fiber?
No, because we still had the Chromebooks, so we had to keep things connected.
Good point.
Out to the buildings. We've got 7 buildings across 14 miles of road, so had to keep that up and running. But
so you just tell people don't turn your computer on?
We were a little bit more blunt than that, but yeah, kind of some threats about, hey, you turn your computer on, you're going to lose everything.
Oh, I get.
Well, and I think you have to be honest. Yeah, you have to be honest in that situation. And
I was amazed at the cooperation we got from our staff. It was great.
Good.
Talking about leaving things up. So your DHCP server, was that a Windows server? Your DNS, was that Windows? Were there some servers that you got to leave up, or did you shut?
Those were high priority that we got cleaned up really, really quick. Most things had an IP address, so we were okay. At that point, using the Chromebooks, it was external DNS. The filtering software, it's a DNS filter. Okay. So, we were okay for the most part in those areas. Yeah.
Interesting. So that day, I guess, did you start rebuilding machines right away? Did you call cyber insurance? What were
we
next
actually
steps?
Worked very closely with our ISP. You guys in Missouri know we've got a state. I call them an ISP. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name or not, but they were incredibly helpful.
Good.
On the phone with their security department. I can't say enough about the support they gave us. Granted, they couldn't do a whole lot, but they were on the back end doing the research for us to figure out best practices, best approaches, what can we do to recover, things like that. We did spend waste, I guess I would say, quite a bit of time trying to recover some things that just weren't recoverable. And unfortunately, and this is a big lesson learned for us, we did not have an offline backup, and our backup servers were Windows devices. And that backup device got hit with the ransomware, and the backup files got encrypted. So we were left having, in many cases, to rebuild from scratch, bare metal.
So let me ask you this. Your backup server, you said it was a Windows device. Was it a domain joined Windows device?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. And I think, pretty much logically now people are dictating, or people are saying kind of best practice now is leave those critical servers off on their own. Don't join them to the domain, and use very, very unique credentials in those devices. Corey, I think you've talked before that your workstation is not even domain joined, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I remember, man, this has been forever ago, like 15 years ago or something, when tape backups were the thing.
Yeah.
And I used to just, I hated tape backups, but I remember I had this backpack that I would have my tape backups in, but in 2021, besides that tape backups suck, like that's a pretty good offline backup. Like, yeah. It's literally on my back. Take that, hacker.
Yeah. And we've gone to the idea of, we're calling it an air gap server, where we fire it up once a month, grab everything, shut it back down, and disconnect. So at least we have that. We've got some other things in play now.
But, domain controller wise, or
DC and files both. We grab everything once.
Awesome. I think that's like poor man's, like that's what we started doing too. We call it the doomsday server. Like that when all things have gone terribly wrong, like we've at least done that. So whatever, at worst, we're like a month behind, I guess.
Yeah.
One other thing we did that did save some stuff, I said we wasted time, but we were able to take one of those programs for recovering flash drives.
Oh, yeah.
PhotoRec, and run that against the hard drive of one of the servers and recover quite a bit that way as well.
Really?
Yes.
And it wasn't encrypted?
It went through and found deleted copies and things like that of the files. We recovered about a server and a half that way.
Cool.
That's interesting.
So you mentioned the ISP. So, and Josh already asked you, did you ever use the cybersecurity insurance or have a third party beside the ISP help you rebuild and also forensic, try to figure out how they got in?
We investigated that pretty seriously. Unfortunately, in shutting down the server, that kind of killed some of the paths to do the research to figure out how it came in. That is one thing our ISP was not happy about. You shouldn't shut it down, just disconnect, just unplug.
I've read several articles recently that say do not shut down, just yank the network card out, or the network cable out of them.
Yeah, which is great on a physical machine, on a VMware, a Blade server. It's kind of hard to figure out exactly what you're disconnecting.
Well, and in VM, you could go into the config and say disconnect network.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I did not realize that until, I don't know, in the last year or so. I started reading some things.
Yeah. We did not pursue the cyber insurance. We looked at it pretty seriously, and the deductible and what was going to be involved, it just wasn't worth it. We did not have a data breach. They did not get any PII, so we didn't have to worry about all that.
And that's where a huge part of that cost comes in.
Right.
So how far down the road did you go rebuilding? Like every Windows workstation in your environment, did it get rebuilt?
No, we went with thumb drives to every workstation. It got to be almost a joke. We found some Office Depot little orange stickers like you would use to price a garage sale. And we would scan with the USB drive, make sure it was clean. And when they came in and they had an orange price sticker on their machine, they knew they could use it again. And so the 7 or 8 of us actually went through I think it took us 6 days to hit every machine in the district.
Oh my gosh.
Now those were 14, 16-hour days.
Right.
I will say I was really, really hacked because I had concert tickets for the night of this when it started. And I still have not gotten to see that act.
You got to say who the act was now.
Yeah, Donnie, open up, Donnie.
Josh Ritter.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him.
No.
Americana. We can play a theme song here. Well, we probably can't.
No, we probably can't.
The music. But
interesting. So how many desktops did you find that were affected? Do you remember?
It was about 10%. And honestly, it was pretty obvious if they were hit. You would disconnect, fire them up, and you could tell almost immediately that, there was a splash screen that came up with the little laughing head at you and all that other crap. So, it was pretty obvious. We didn't find any that were in process. I'll say that. But that also opened our eyes quite a bit to some labs that have been I'll say abused. Students turned loose and not watched too close. Well, a lot of just malware junk. And and of course, those were the slowest machines as well. So it would take us forever to go through a middle school PLTW lab. It was a nightmare there.
You don't have to mention, and probably don't mention, your antivirus vendor at the time. Did it play a role at all? Like, did your antivirus on your machines ever detect anything at all, or did this bypass it?
It found a little bit. A lot of it was bypassed. It spread through the network shares, and we just got blindsided. You're that district. Everyone says, "Oh no, it won't happen to us." And now it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when.
Yeah, and that phrase, the three of us, it's not if, it's when, and that's frightening. Honestly, it scares me. So let's talk about, I guess, holes, if you will.
Yep.
When
local admins.
Local admins. Yeah, let's start there. Did your user? Oh, dang. No. Okay. Go ahead.
Next guess.
So you said they were moving through the network shares. Was it shares like on a file server that everyone had write access to?
No.
Corey, you got a guess?
I mean, I was going to guess somebody got phished and then they uploaded some sort of infected file, or their computer got infected, the drive was mapped, and then the malware was able to attack the file share, was going to be my guess.
And I could say that for us, it was actually we had a VPN set up for a third-party vendor to maintain some equipment.
I remember this story now.
And that laptop that vendor was using got infected. So I guess in a way it was spreading through shares.
That's right.
Oh my God.
I remember after I talked to you, Andy, at the conference, I came back and gave our vendor of that's not the same product, but that controls that type of equipment.
Yes.
I rode him hard until they verified they had AV. We disabled their VPN.
Mm-hmm.
That I remember that now.
And ironically, the user of that computer who works for that vendor at the time lived 4 doors down from me.
Oh my gosh.
Our kids had played together.
Oh my.
And he fell all over himself for probably 6 months every time he saw me.
So
yes, he should.
So just to recap, vendor laptop just had a VPN connection, and then just because that his laptop connected VPN, his was infected with malware, and then the malware would traverse the VPN connection, and that laptop had like a file share.
Yeah. Can I kind of say what kind of service it is? I'm not going to get into
don't give a name, but yeah.
Right. Now, HVAC. So our air conditioning controls, heating and air conditioning controls.
Yeah.
The machine that actually managed it, they wanted on the domain. So they had a Windows machine inside our network on the domain that they would VPN into.
Yeah.
Insane.
And that then set things off so that, we tracked it back to that was the first server that was infected, was that HVAC server.
Oh, man. So
you got me.
Did they have any, did they know they had this infection happening on their laptop, on their equipment at their office?
No, I got to call and tell them, you better check that machine because that's where it came from.
Well, I was about to bring that up. Like, how does that conversation go? Because I guess it's quite a bit after the fact that you've found out, okay, this is how they got in. Then what do you call them? Like,
less than a week, we had it nailed down.
Like, I feel like I'd been like, hey, you just caused me a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys work in education. No one ever really gets in trouble. I mean, you really, and this is a big screw up, but I mean, you really, really, really have to screw up to get terminated.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of how it played out. They did completely fall all over themselves and apologizing and helping to rebuild. And, so, I mean, it wasn't a pleasant conversation. It wasn't a pleasant couple of conversations.
No, I'm sure.
But I got really good at those during those 2, 3, 4 weeks there where, hey, we're still trying to recover your home directory. I can't say when it's going to be back.
Yeah. And I'm sure at some point your staff has to realize you're doing everything you can. It's not like you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs playing solitaire and, if it works, great. If it doesn't, man, oh well.
Right. It could have gone either way. It could have either gone that, hey, we got a new tech department because the last one sucked.
Sure.
Or, oh, we're so appreciative for everything that you're doing. And very thankful that my district went with the second approach there.
And that brings up an interesting point. We hear about these events pretty frequent. I'd say frequent at this point. I don't know if I've heard of a district that has canned their IT department after this. Have you guys heard of anyone?
Yeah, I've heard of one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not the entire department, but those responsible for those kinds of supports.
Were they able to prove dereliction, or?
I think they just made it so uncomfortable, and the district that I'm aware of is pretty transient anyway in their tech department. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Because I think superintendents are getting enough information now, and they're hearing about this enough, probably at conferences and from cohorts, that they're starting to realize it's not an if but when type scenario, and it's unfair to punish. I don't know. That's just an interesting road to walk down.
Mm-hmm. And as a tech director, you're not always told yes. I mean, you always say, hey, of course I would love $100,000 firewall, but no, they're going to give you a $10,000 firewall. So it's like, yeah, you could build the best castle possibly, but you're allowed to spend what you're allowed to spend, and you do the best job with what you got. And then as things come out, or insurance makes different rules, and then that's what pushes a lot of superintendents like, oh, well, if our insurance is going to go up and they're telling us to do this, Corey, why don't you look into that? So, I mean, it's not like you're just always given a free load of money to buy the best of the best either.
Yeah, especially Chris. Right.
Yeah. I was very surprised. Sometimes you use these things to get better. And I approached at the end of that 1920 school year, I approached our administration and said, I'd like to add a network security position to the department. No, we don't need it.
Oh my gosh.
So it took me 2 years. We're finally filling that spot. But it took us 2 years to get to the point of realizing that we can't go through that again.
Wow.
I've got 3 years till retirement. I'm not doing it again. If it happens, I'm just dropping the keys and walking out the door.
Wow. I'm surprised, being that fresh, that was the response to that. That's interesting. Okay, so let's talk about changes that you've implemented. If changes that you're comfortable sharing, I don't want you to give away your entire bag.
Right.
So you already said your users did not have local admin rights.
Correct.
What about Windows Firewall? Was it on or off during this?
It was off at the time.
Okay, so I assume that's been turned on.
Defender, yeah.
Okay,
we've turned that on.
What else? Low hanging fruit stuff have you done? We did change antivirus providers. Okay.
Especially, and we beefed it up on the servers. We went through and closed off a lot of ports. The other thing that is not popular always with our staff, but at the firewall level, we did blocking by country or region domain.
Yeah.
So basically, we got it down to only English-speaking countries. That does create a problem every once in a while. But, we had enough records of watching the traffic jump as it left us, and IP addresses where it was going and things like that. We could definitely identify one specific country where this was going.
Interesting. So when you say blocking ports, is that at the firewall level? You started blocking
at the firewall level. Right. Okay. We cranked it down quite a bit. Over the years, you just do things.
Yeah.
I want to open up this port because I need X program, or this, Misha is requiring us to use this kind of thing, and we got to do this on the firewall. You kind of forget about what you've done.
Yeah.
And when you go back and go,
that's
close those.
Last week with Gene, that's how he got hacked. They opened a RDP server for some sort of service. I forget what it was. Intercoms.
Yeah.
And then, like he said, he just forgot. He said during the install, the company said, hey, give us RDP to this computer. We'll set up your intercoms remotely. Then he just forgot. And that's how he was hit. And it's just so easy to, you're so busy and just like you just open it up, or they don't ever tell you they're done.
Right.
Like, and you just forget to close it.
What other big changes did you make after all this?
A lot of user education. Granted, we weren't phished.
Yeah.
But I get messages from staff now constantly. Hey, I just got this. Thought you'd want to know. I didn't open it. That didn't happen a lot before this.
Yeah.
Are you
phishing your staff now?
Not yet. With this added position, that's one of the things we're hoping to do is to have some campaigns internally to find out and help educate.
Boy, that's fun. I know Corey and I fish. I think Chris fishes his staff every
one a year. Yeah.
One a year. Okay. Corey and I do it this year. I haven't been super regular about it because it's been such a crazy, stupid year. But I know a couple districts that do it once a month, and they pick a different email, they send it out. And there's different services out there that'll do like random emails. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. You find out which users are paying attention.
So I had a question. So you mentioned your backups. I inferred that I guess they were hosed. So did you just do a lot of building from scratch, like AD, any of that stuff?
With the internal stuff, Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, yes, we just rebuilt from scratch. It was rough. Basically, we had
Donatello, but you could because you're Donatello.
Yeah, you can do anything.
You're all techie.
We had one or two staff in the office rebuilding
several staff.
The rest of us were.
Well, yeah,
Nice. You're gonna work this, aren't you?
That was bad. No,
I was super good. I was spot on.
I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, you've got like 7 staff members. Yeah, you had and then Chris starts getting into karate.
So what was the biggest heartache? Like I'm thinking I think the biggest heartache for me would be like my group policies. Because I just have so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
I will say our biggest need immediately, and I think this is true of most districts, we had to get our financials back up. That was local. Thankfully, we had some offsite backups, and we use one of the very common financial systems in Missouri. And up until a couple of months ago, they were very generous in allowing us to store and upload backups nightly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's gone away. So I've spent the last couple of weeks actually educating people on how to dump those services, those files. Sorry, my wife just came in with the dogs.
Tell her is the noise is just.
Is her name April?
Sure. Call her whatever you want. But we spent the last couple of weeks teaching people how to encrypt thumb drives using BitLocker and things like that, and to get those backups offsite.
Yeah, interesting. That was a nice service that they offered, and they stopped at about the same time they got attacked too recently. So I think that's kind of interesting. You're muted, Donatello. There you go.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. Sure. I know that's what drove that decision.
Okay.
Because all of their services have changed in support methods and things like that.
Yeah. That's been kind of a struggle for them too.
Sure.
So what's been your biggest, let me ask this, passwords, network passwords for users. What was your password policy before and after? Did you change it?
We have increased the complexity.
Okay.
But we still, unfortunately, run on a 180-day cycle.
Do you? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a hard sell for our staff. They struggle with the change. And I think part of it is actually the timing, because, for instance, right now our passwords are expiring. Well, 2 weeks before school gets out.
Right.
I know they come back in August. I know I changed it, but I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
Or I wrote it down and somebody snuck in and threw the Post-it note away, which I do.
I do too.
Josh, what's yours at? How many days?
I'd have to look. We were at 3 months for a while. But we changed it when NIST when NIST made their policy or that newest guidance, I don't know, a year or two ago, where you up the length, they kind of changed some of that stuff. We kind of went along with that. We made ours 12, minimum of 12 characters. I think might be 15. So we definitely went longer.
Corey, what's yours?
Ours are for AD. I think we do 365 days, and then we for sure have the complex password enabled and enforced, but I don't remember the length. It's for sure at least 8. And then for our SIS, we go 180 that they're forced to change it, and then they can't do the last 2 passwords. So we do SIS a little more strict.
Yeah, ours is too. Chris,
sorry, my whole house is exploding here.
No, you're fine,
Donnie.
You're fine, Donnie.
You're fine.
It's okay. Normally Corey's coughing the whole time, so
I think I'm healed.
Just walked in,
Ours is once a year.
Is it?
And we do Google. During that, we have that November Technology Security Awareness Month during Password Security Week. We just take on the burden of doing SIS, Google, and Windows all in one shot. We pick.
But you're not synchronizing anything.
No, that's hopefully coming this summer.
Yeah, we're going to look at that too, as well as turning on or starting a discussion about enforcing 2FA on Gmail at the same time.
Wow.
Corey's already doing 2FA, forcing it for everybody. He's leading the pack on that one.
Nice.
Staff and students?
No, just staff.
Just staff. Okay.
Yeah, students would be hard. Students would be really hard.
Man.
Hey, can Corey plug Provision real quick?
Yeah, Provision Data Solutions.
Really hard.
Normally we do it after we dismiss the guest.
And there's a little
break.
It was like out of nowhere.
A transition into it. Yeah.
Can Corey stand on his head real quick, which I absolutely could if you want to know. So Provision Data Solutions, I just got some wonderful FedEx delivered boxes of E-rate stuff, a bunch of new wall cabinets. We're replacing every battery backup in the district. We got some stuff. It says a battery cabinet. I don't even know what a battery cabinet is, but they weigh they weighed like 800 pounds. I moved them by myself. Provision does all that. They're like week over week. We say they do networking, wireless servers, but they do that stuff too. Like Provision will be installing these wall cabinets. They're going to be installing my battery backups. So they do it all. Ryan Rothkopf, Ryan R at provisionds.com.
So, Donnie, real quick, what would you say would be your biggest takeaway from your event?
Yeah, the backups. The loss of the backups was by far the most painful. And from a administrative standpoint, the spinning of it and having the support of your administration, it came from the top down that, hey, we're recovering, leave the guys alone. They're working as fast as they can. That support and we've got a great PR person in our district who helped frame all of this in the media. We ended up on the local news, but it was around the teamwork of the technology department rather than the actual incident itself.
Cool. That's awesome. So, and we haven't really touched on that. How did those first conversations with your district leadership go about, hey man, we got a big problem?
It was strictly informational. We were scrambling so much. Went to my superintendent, assistant soups. I actually report to one of the assistant soups and just told them and said, hey, we're going to do everything we can, but I need you to run interference for us. Yeah. And they did.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. And they didn't fire you in the end. That's even better.
I had a letter ready.
Did you really?
Just in case. Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
I probably would too. I mean, you guys know I would.
It's just so stressful. You don't know what's coming. And quite honestly, if they tell me I'm leaving,
is outside your window.
I just want to get out.
Technodrome is here.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you one bit. Oh, you want me to leave? Okay, here's my keys.
Yeah.
See you
here's
later.
The thumb drive with the antivirus we're scanning with. Good luck.
So, were you sleeping on site for that week?
No, I wasn't. It was about 16-hour days for a solid 7 days. But
that's not Gene. Our last week, that was real dedication.
Yeah,
I mean, he was sleeping on the couch.
Yeah,
firing people. I mean, his workers weren't showing up.
Yeah,
like put yourself in his shoes, Donnie.
We don't have a couch to sleep on. What kind of office do they have?
No, he said he was in the high school library sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
He said he had people driving by at 2 a.m. and saw his car there, and they were texting him, asking him what he was doing at work still. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, you need to go back and listen. That was last week's episode. He was he was
gonna put some hair on your chest.
Yeah, but the other one we did, the first one we did recently, was just as scary. It's all a situation that I would never want to go through. Unfortunately, we all of us probably will at some point.
You're next.
And hopefully, Donnie, you don't
I've
have
sent it
to.
already.
Hopefully, in the next 3 years before you retire, Donnie, you don't have to experience this again.
Right. Exactly. Hey, I can just get my last 3 years in as a custodian in some little district outstate, and
there you go.
That's fine with me.
There you go. You hit your 3 years max salary, and based on that, maybe. All right, gentlemen, do you have any other questions for Donatello before he leaves tonight?
What's Raphael doing tonight?
Oh my God!
I guess you got see. I don't know the Turtles. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm the right age, but I really never got into it. So I know they all had Italian names.
You're telling me this isn't your name?
Wait.
Oh.
Wait. You don't know who the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are?
I know the concept. I do not know, like, the blue one is Leonardo or whatever.
What is Casey?
Luckily, you got it right. But like,
and I know there's a giant rat that's a bad guy, and they like
he's the good
rat's
guy. Shredder's the bad guy.
Make me go Casey Jones
Shredder's
up in here.
Shredder. The rat is Splinter.
Oh, sorry,
all right, kick
the sensei.
Kick him out.
I've been fired. Do I need to turn in my letter?
We don't even know if we're going to air this. Thanks a lot, Donatello. Jeez.
And anchovies. You like anchovies?
No, he likes stupid pineapple.
I don't.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight, man. We appreciate your story and the time you took to tell it.
Thank you for having me.
See you, man.
See you later.
Yet another interesting story, gentlemen. And again, it comes down to backups. Like the other two stories that we've had recently, backups are key. This one didn't have RDP as the key though this time.
I mean, similar though. Like,
good point. Yeah.
I mean, another like just a vendor-based port open for internal access.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's not, the laptop got infected, but still, that's how it got in.
Yeah, I remember talking to him and coming back from that conference and getting a hold of my maintenance guy and having him call our HVAC company. And I raked him over the coals. Like, you're not going to have a VPN. If you want access, you're coming on site. Like, I distinctly remember that after that. I mean, you guys know how I overreact when stuff like that happens.
Oh, I mean, and I'm smaller district than both of you guys, but we don't have any of that. Like, none of our HVAC is tied to like a computer
controller
system.
Or anything. Wow.
No.
Huh. Yeah, we've had that for all of our new construction is.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We built a middle school 5 years ago, and it's a super nice middle school. And like, I was expecting them to be like, hey, your HVAC needs to be like, we need a computer for it. And no, there's none of that, which I'm not complaining about.
No, I wouldn't either. They're horrible to deal with people. Chris, do you have any closing thoughts tonight?
I was just thinking about, was it Krang?
Oh my gosh.
The squiggly guy?
Who?
Shredder and the brain.
I don't know.
Krang?
Krang?
Yeah, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Bebop.
But I was gonna say
Bebop and Rocksteady.
To plug something cool real quick. So after last week's episode, I reached out to Something Cool and asked them to confirm my Veeam setup. Basically, multiple things like are all the jobs encrypted, and then especially for my offsite, like I basically asked them like, hey, if somebody grabbed a domain admin account, like how far can they go deleting files? And they basically, if your backup server is on the domain, they can get that far. With the offsite, they can actually see the files, but with Veeam 10 or higher, the cloud backups become immutable.
Yeah.
So that can't even, like, I couldn't even myself, if I wanted to go in now and mess with the files, I could not mess with them. So that made me feel really good. And they said that was in Veeam 10, which came out last year.
Yeah.
Or newer.
And again, I think that speaks to having those backup servers off domain too.
Yes.
You have very unique credentials for those devices and have them off domain. All right. Any other closing thoughts tonight, guys?
No.
All right. Hearing none, we will close this episode. Thanks. Yeah, we don't want to pay royalties, Chris. So that's been an episode. Visit our sponsors and send us an email. Visit our website, k12techtalk.com. No. Chris, what's the website? K12techtalk. Is it podcast? I forget.
It's tmnt.com.
Oh my goodness.
K12techtalkpodcast.com.
Yeah, and it's k12techtalk@gmail.com. I always get confused. And what's our
Are we going to get sued by Hasbro?
Probably. K12 Tech Talk Pod on Twitter. Send us a tweet, shoot us an email, follow us, share with your friends. Thanks for listening.
Who's your favorite turtle?
Bye-bye.